The information I'm about to provide you will alter your perspective on XRP forever. A collision between the public markets and what's going behind the scenes is about to happen, and most people have no clue about it. It will surprise even the most ardent believers in this arena. I have personally witnessed the personal aspect of this narrative. Yes, I have seen papers. The concealed ledgers are visible to me. The prices that are never made public are something I have also observed. You won't believe how near we are to turning a key when I give you the figures. Your money is not being advised by this. Allow me to explain. I just came across a letter that Ripple had their hands in. It was a genuine official message from Thailand. This was more than just a hearsay. If the Thai government wants to use XRP, it should do it on both the public and private ledgers, according to a letter that Ripple gave out. Ripple largely detailed their use of private sidechains and their advantages in that document. Now, we reach the pivotal moment. When compared to the public market, the prices recorded in the private ledger are absolutely staggering. What I mean is that the sidechains are displaying prices like $327,000 per XRP. Does this imply that tomorrow that price XRP will be openly traded? It doesn't work that way. This does, however, imply that governmental agencies, large corporations, and other organizations are using these sidechains as proving grounds for more extensive settlement simulations. Consider this viewpoint. New skyscrapers have their pipes pressure tested to ensure there are no leaks before the water is turned on. Ripple and its associates have been acting in just this manner. Testing has been going on. Settlement volumes have been modeled. What occurs when XRP is used at scale across borders, institutions, and new financial rails is something they have been demonstrating. Plus, that is only the beginning of the picture. Quickly, before I go any farther, let me state this. I have compiled something that you must have if you wish to position yourself optimally for the impending wealth transfer wave. Find 100x Stocks, the definitive investor's guide to becoming a billionaire, is linked in the pinned comment below this video. Documents, photos, video breakdowns, and more are all included. All with the goal of teaching you how to recognize chances that can change your life and your family's financial fortunes for generations to come. Forget about the past and focus on the present. The main issue is, why are these side chains really necessary? Who needs public oversight when they may be privately managed? It would be more prudent to allow the market to determine the outcome. The response was provided by Ripple directly. At Ripple Apex 2025 in Singapore, I had the good fortune to be present when it was explained. An irritant for Ripple for a long time was finally answered by one of their leaders, Schwartzy, when he took the platform. The public XRP ledger DEX are perfect for settlement. Why can't institutions just utilize them? It was a devastating response. Regardless of how slight the chance that an illicit transaction may come into contact with their payment rails may be, he made it clear that Ripple is a regulated institution and cannot take that risk. It makes no difference if it's really rare or if they were completely unaware. Regulatory rules simply prohibit it. Because of this, the DEX in its public form has not been usable by institutions. However, the breakthrough is at this point. Right now, Ripple is releasing permission domains. These areas of the XRP ledger ecosystem are private and governed. There is a screening process before they let you in. There must be no evidence that you are engaging in unlawful activities linked to terrorism or sanctioned. You can do everything from providing liquidity to consuming it once you're inside, and you can even engage in arbitrage between the two. Importantly, the DEX can now be used by organizations, businesses, banks, and payment providers to settle payments. Allow me to explain it in layman's terms. Large regulated financial institutions will have unprecedented access to XRP's potential on the blockchain. Nothing like it has ever been done before. Consider the time now. Ripple and its associates have been patiently waiting, developing, testing, and getting ready for years. Legal certainty has always been the missing component. Without it, institutions cannot function. Even with lightning-fast trains and dirt-cheap deals, major players will stay on the sidelines if the rules are unclear. That is the truth about XRP. And now for the catch. We are finally seeing that clarity. Now making its way through the Senate, the market structure law establishes a transparent regulatory framework for digital assets. This isn't some far-fetched notion either. Even the notorious Bitcoin maximalist Senator Cynthia Lummis has stated her expectation that this bill will be passed into law by Donald Trump before Thanksgiving. If that occurs, which seems more probable than before, XRP will be classified as a commodity. Give that some thought, an item rather than a security. Institutions are able to enter thanks to that one definition. It takes away the last justification for not participating. That the government, financial institutions, and banks are all on the same page is a huge relief. Return to the domains that granted you permission. Institutions will feel comfortable moving funds straight onto the XRP ledger once the legislation is finalized and official clarity is provided. All of the private ledgers, sidechains, and concealed testing eventually make it into the public domain. Money is flowing into the open market from hidden sources. Consolidated settlement becomes a reality. When that happens, the action really heats up. Do you recall the exorbitant costs of the tests? Keep in mind that private ledgers are doing simulations at a level that the public market is still unable to understand. Such were not haphazard. They served as trial runs, a sneak peek at the potential of XRP in a global context. Market prices will have to reflect this reality once the gates open. This isn't your average pump and hype cycle, far from it. This holds the building. There is a systemic problem here. Two universes have collided here. There is the open realm of retail trading and the hidden realm of institutional testing. Their collision will cause a liquidity shock unlike any we've ever experienced. This is the end of the era of opposition. Conventional financial wisdom has been resistant to deviation off the path for quite some time. Everyone has done everything they can to keep the legacy system in place. However, we have entered the harmony phase, when old systems and modern technologies are in perfect harmony with one another. Ripple has spent almost 10 years getting ready for this very second. We have activated the permission domains. Clarity in the law is on the horizon, and the establishments are prepared. For that reason, I think we are on the cusp of a profound shift. Unless they witness it firsthand, the majority of people will not believe it. It becomes clear why Ripple has been so patient when you take a step back and examine the broader perspective. A system that rewires the backbone of global finance itself has been in the works, and it doesn't just correct one little inefficiency. This is why they were unable to hurry it. Private ledgers, sidechains, and covert simulations have all been around for a while because of this. Those astronomical figures were never meant to be seen by the average investor. Making sure the system was foolproof for when the time came was the main concern. Imagine for a second a scenario where XRP is listed on a private ledger for a price in the hundreds of thousands. It seems illogical at first. In a market where all that's shown is dollars, why would it ever reveal them? It all makes sense when you realize that those private chains are actually modeling settlement volumes in the trillions of dollars. Under harsh circumstances, they are testing liquidity. This is an example of what can happen when XRP is used as the foundation for instantaneous cross-border transfers of large amounts of money. Now picture those identical flows making their way into the public ledger from behind the scenes. We are on the cusp of that true event. If public and private chains remained apart, arbitrage opportunities would persist. However, this will not be the case. The boundaries between the public and private sectors begin to blur once authorization domains are up and running and institutions have received approval. What this means is that previously restricted flows are now part of the open market. There is a revitalization of the price discovery mechanism, an increase in liquidity, and an expansion of order books. The best part about this arrangement is that it's good for everyone, not just the institutions. Even if others scoffed at XRP's potential as a bridge asset, the retail community persisted in believing in it for years. But Ripple was aware of the reality. Institutional flows could not be unleashed until the regulations were defined. The arrival of these regulations signals the imminent numerical manifestation of retail's long-held belief in utility at scale. Fascinatingly, Ripple engineered its rollout to address compliance, a critical concern in the financial sector. Walled gardens aren't the only thing you can do with permission domains. The goal is to establish a fresh level of confidence in digital assets. Pretend it's the security line at the airport. Getting on a plane to another country isn't something you do by chance. Screening has completed. Okay, you're officially verified before you can board the plane. When it comes to the transfer of digital assets, permission domains use the same logic. Everything inside has been checked. The regulations are well known by all. That makes everything very secure for organizations that aren't able to risk anything. The network effect becomes relevant at this point. Other financial institutions will join the bandwagon once a few start supplying liquidity. When newer, better, and safer alternatives are available, banks would rather not be the last ones clinging to antiquated tracks. Financial institutions would want not to fall behind. The need to change becomes paramount when rivals can transfer funds instantaneously for next to nothing while they continue to deal with wire fees and delays. The transformation comes quickly once the tipping point is reached, as has been observed in every technological revolution before it. So, how does this play out in the real world? Imagine a scenario where a Thai bank is interested in settling with a European bank. That procedure is currently cumbersome. It adds unnecessary fees, delays, and middlemen to the process. However, utilizing XRP as the intermediary, the identical transfer can occur quickly with the Ripple system. Scalable proof of this was previously provided via the private ledger tests. Legal clarity eliminates the final hurdle, and authorization domains make it compliant. The flow is now actual, and it continues indefinitely after it begins. However, banks are just the beginning. This is a universal framework that businesses of any size can use. Using Ripple's rails could result in huge savings for multinational firms that transfer billions of dollars monthly across borders. Because they are no longer burdened by traditional expenses and delays, even smaller enterprises who trade globally gain an advantage. Not only that, but regular folks, freelancers, remittance senders, and anybody else sending or receiving money internationally can also gain. Now things start to heat up since Ripple isn't limiting itself to a single use case. They are constructing a whole financial superhighway. After it's laid, any type of traffic can use it. Funds, settlements, assets that are tokenized, and even whole marketplaces. More than simply money can be stored on the XRP ledger. Value of every type is what it's for. That is precisely why there is a heightened level of scrutiny from institutions. We must not forget to mention the significance of time in this entire process. This is not an accident in any way. The environment wasn't conducive to Ripple's move for a long time. Authority figures were not in sync. Authorities were apprehensive. Conventional banking was unmotivated to change. However, by 2025, everything is falling into place. Someone else's political paradigm has changed. More and more people are eager to hear about blockchain innovations. Furthermore, the demand for additional financial infrastructure is now too great to ignore. It is the global economy that is driving this change. The inefficiencies of the previous system, along with the growing need for speedier settlement and the volume of cross-border trade, are making a change. It is obvious to governments. These days, digital assets are a need. They will occur, and Ripple has set themselves up to be the link between the old and the new. The significance of various test environments was highlighted by that. They were necessary for Ripple to demonstrate that XRP could manage the workload. However, it was proven. They proved that XRP has the potential to settle at levels unseen by the public market. Adoption will now follow suit as a direct result of that assurance. When will the pricing reflect this? That is the question everyone is asking. In all candor, the answer is that cost is the one that lags behind. The market will not start to reprice the asset until the infrastructure is complete, the compliance framework is in place, and adoption has taken place. However, the onset will be abrupt. Since previously hidden, tested, and contained liquidity will abruptly surge into the open, it will produce a repricing event. A change of this magnitude doesn't unfold gradually. The impact is sudden. The majority of individuals will be taken unawares by this point. They'll be surprised to hear that XRP was planned for years, but it appeared out of nowhere. There has been no shortage of signs. The covert construction of authorization domains, private ledgers, concealed prices, and letters to governments. This was all predetermined. Everything we did was in advance of the exact setting we're going to encounter. Just think about the consequences of XRP becoming formally classified as a commodity. The elimination of regulatory risk follows. Institutional investors can confidently allocate their funds. This eliminates any potential legal ambiguity and allows for the direct construction of investment vehicles, ETFs, derivatives, and structured products on top of XRP. The liquidity base instantly multiplies when that happens. Simultaneously, formerly closed payment routes start to open up. Markets that were hesitant finally get going. Plus, this isn't limited to just one area because Ripple has collaborations all across the world. There's no shortage of it. Europe, Africa, the Americas, and Asia. There isn't just one nation where this is happening. It's a real-time unfolding of global alignment. Consider the scale now. The demand for XRP will outstrip the supply on public markets, even if only a small proportion of the world's cross-border settlement traffic uses it. Additionally, there is a hard cap of 100 billion XRP, the majority of which is reserved, in contrast to fiat currencies. Price appreciation is driven by the fundamental mismatch of supply and demand, which is poised to reach a new level of intensity once the dam breaches. Market psychology is the last component. When the story moves from conjecture to adoption, from ambiguity to clarity, everything changes. The institutions that were before stating, "We'll wait and see," are now desperate to gain publicity. Regular people who were skeptical about the schedule are flooding back in. The media's initial skepticism turns into excitement, and the feedback loop is set in motion. An increase in price prompts more interest, which in turn increases adoption, which further drives up the price. That being said, it is critical to view the private ledgers, authorization domains, and legal clarity as complementary but interdependent narratives. They're not two distinct occurrences. They were meticulously constructed over many years, and now they all function as one unit, currently buzzing with activity simultaneously. The timing is impeccable, and Ripple planned it out perfectly. We're on the cusp of that change at the moment. We have tested the pipes. All holes have been filled. We may say that the system is proven. The switch is about to be flipped by the regulators, and once they do, the world of finance will never be the same. When the barriers are eventually broken down, what will happen? Well, now we finally get the answer everyone has been hoping for. The reality is that we are beginning to perceive the solution materialize right now. The concept of authorization domains is not abstract. Here they are. It is not an abstract concept to have a regulatory framework. The corridors of power are currently circulating it. The private testing that has taken place throughout the years is not insignificant. For this very time, they have been making preparations to the system. The following step, then, is easy to explain but has far-reaching consequences: the integration of private funds into open markets that will permanently alter the supply and demand equation. One truth emerged from every single stress test conducted on the private ledgers. The global settlement scale is manageable with XRP. The price mechanism, however, responds in real time as soon as an equivalent amount begins to move across the public ledger. At that point, price adjustments will start. Have this idea in mind. Just like a dress rehearsal, the secret ledgers have been going on. Everything is in place. Everyone on stage has committed their lines to memory. The illumination is flawless. The audience was the sole item that was absent. At last, the stage is set, and the whole financial sector will soon be able to witness the show in real time. Plus, you can't stop it once it starts. The XRP price changes to reflect its actual utility as the practiced liquidity plays out in real-time marketplaces. The most remarkable aspect of this change is the harmony that has developed among technology, regulations, and consumer desire. A missing piece persisted for a long time. The regulations were either not yet ready, institutions weren't interested in the rules being created, or there was demand. But the rails couldn't manage it. Alternatively, the tech could have been ready. However, in the year 2025, all of those obstacles are crumbling at the same time. It's as if, after years of turning in various directions, the gears finally click into place. All machines are now in sync. The timing for widespread adoption is speeding up as a result of this synchronization. Ripple has established partnerships with governments, central banks, and payment processors worldwide. These aren't neighborhood alliances, they're systemic. Furthermore, entire industries get swept along with systemic players when they make the changeover. For that reason, the effect will go beyond simple acceptance. A chain reaction will ensue. Think about the consequences of a single large central bank completely adopting Ripple's technology. There will be no denying the efficiency gains. Other national monetary authorities will be afraid to fall behind. They are compelled to adopt due to the competition alone. Consumers, businesses, and commercial banks will all feel the effects of this pattern. This is now an issue of when, not if. Only time and speed will tell. Finally, the most important thing: when one domino falls, the markets move on. When the first few dominoes fall, they start to price in what's to come. The market will begin to anticipate the rest once institutions start transferring liquidity into authorization domains and clarity arrives. At that point, interest grows, and XRP is no longer considered a mere digital asset, but rather the foundation of an innovative global settlement system. By that stage, the feedback loop has become very effective. Increases in liquidity are driven by growing adoption. Increased cash on hand boosts self-assurance. Adoption rates rise when people feel confident. Once XRP becomes ingrained in the global finance system, the cycle will recur, compounding on itself. When we step back, we can see that the XRP price is just one factor. It concerns the implications for the financial system as a whole. Our planet has been stuck on antiquated tracks for a long time. The conventional wisdom held that one should use swift communications, correspondent banks, day-song settlement windows, and multiple layers of fees. To be sure, that's going to change soon. We are entering a new era where value may be transferred just as quickly and readily as knowledge, and XRP is poised to be the connecting asset that does that. That change will affect industries other than finance. Businesses, governments, and even regular people all have to adapt to new ways of dealing with money. Envision a society where money transfers that took days before could come in a matter of seconds. A world free of cross-border fees, where small firms can compete on a global scale. In a world where money may move freely across oceans, opening doors that were previously inaccessible. Ripple has been working toward this very world, and now it's within grasp. Also, keep in mind that we're not limiting ourselves to the literal expression of monetary value. Any asset, currency, commodity, security, or even non-existent form of value can be tokenized and transferred using the XRP ledger. So, the adoption curve we're about to enter isn't just for monetary transactions. It goes well beyond only carbon credits and into the tokenization of supply chains, real estate, and more. The demand for and supply of XRP increases in response to each of those use cases. As surprising as the private ledger prices were, they make perfect sense now. The amount of settlement that XRP can support when used to its full capacity is reflected in their actions. That possibility goes from being a theoretical consideration to a tangible one now that the law is clear. After the commercial sector begins to price in information, the public sector follows suit. We must not underestimate the importance of this time. Institutions, regulators, and technology all need a digital asset that can be defined and supported at scale for a long time. XRP is currently filling the job. There will be no denying the repricing event once the market acknowledges it. Since most people will be focusing on XRP's history, they will fail to see it. They will remember it as the token that was in a state of uncertainty due to pending litigation, lack of clarity, and acceptance. Those years of waiting were really years of building, but they won't get it. That the litigation compelled Ripple to establish impenetrable compliance procedures, that the postponement allowed authorities the opportunity to synchronize, and that the covert testing on private ledgers prepared the way for widespread use. It will be well underway when the change becomes apparent. Being early is important for this reason, during the first stages of both owning an asset and comprehending its story. Because getting in at the ground level isn't an option once the storyline moves from doubt to certainty. The storyline has changed, that much is true. All the parts are moving, the rails have been set, organizations are getting in line. There will soon be the greatest infusion of capital into digital assets that the world has ever seen. It revolves around XRP. Important things will happen in the next months. The stage is being set with the market structure bill, institutions getting ready to jump on board, and Ripple getting ready to open permission domains. The following step is not planning, but rather carrying out the plan. Each domino is about to fall. How soon the remainder will fall is the only remaining question. Those who can see the big picture can start making plans right now. Here we are not dealing with a temporary increase. We are witnessing the fundamental revaluation of an asset that is moving from a state of potentiality to one of practicality, from the periphery to the epicenter of international finance. Once the liquidity shock occurs, the market will never be the same. And here's a straightforward method to merge understanding with opportunity for individuals who are prepared to take action. Discover 100x Stocks, the definitive investor guide to making $1 million, in the pinned comment below. This resource is packed with documents, photographs, and videos that will teach you how to identify incredible chances before they go viral. In addition, if you use my Robinhood link, you can receive free NVDA stocks with a $1 deposit. Just 2 easy steps. One provides you with the information. The alternative provides immediate access to one of the world's most valuable resources at this very moment. That's the way to get ready for the future. Now is the time. Will you be prepared to flick the switch? That is the only question.